Hi, my name is Nicole Minder, and this is Module 5 for AEP 800, Barriers to Web 2.0. So the first article that we were required to read, Barriers to Using Web 2.0 in 21st Century Schools, it explained that over the past several years, internet access has increased. However, student test scores are not reflecting this increase in technology. Some of the reasons why this could be is that it is extremely time consuming for teachers. Um, there's not enough technology training available, so there's not enough updated professional development training for these teachers, so they don't feel confident using it in their classrooms. There's not the technology aid within the schools, so there's no one to help teachers when the technology doesn't work or it's acting up, and then lack of administrative support. A couple of advantages to this technology is the individualized learning that students can receive when using this technology, and collaboration in a real-world environment. The disadvantage is, as we all know, sometimes technology doesn't work the way we would like it to, so it's great when it does, but when it doesn't, that can be very frustrating for teachers. The second article, 7 common barriers that obstruct tech adoption in education. So the first one is having a lack of vision. There has to be a strong infrastructure in place for this type of technology to be successful within schools. It is extremely expensive. And so if you don't have the backing of the community and the parents in place and the needed money for this type of vision, it won't work. So having a strong plan is extremely important. Changing what a teacher's role should be. So should we go from having direct instruction within the classroom to a more project inquiry-based curriculum? Considering the achievement gap. So how can we close the achievement gap and allow more students to be successful? It talked about how there are the haves and the have-nots. So students who have high-speed internet at their house and are able to do homework and do projects at home, that's great for them, but we also have a lot of students that do not have that type of technology at home. Maybe they don't even have a computer at home. So their ability to do homework and projects at home is limited. Figuring out how to scale promising innovations. So things that are working in the classroom, technology-wise, how can teachers get that out there to other teachers around the country, around the state, around the world? And then how do we assess the success of our students using that technology? Lacking the money to invest in technology. Obviously, technology is extremely expensive, especially for a wide-scale plan. So having the money, getting the investors to back this idea is extremely important. And then thinking beyond textbooks. So it talked about free open education curriculum. So those are websites where teachers can go and receive lessons and other help for their curriculum in their classroom. And then having a strong infrastructure in place, both technology and staffing wise. So having very fast internet in order for all students and staff to be able to be on it without it crashing, and then having that technology support within the school. So if something does happen, somebody knows how to fix it. The third article, the digital divide, a quarter of a nation is without broadband. So this mainly spoke about the region of Appalachia. It talked about a town in Ohio also, but it mainly talked about Appalachia, where many families still have dial-up internet. And the reasons for that could be geography, because It's not flat like Kansas is. And then it's a very low income area. So a lot of people don't have enough money to afford high-speed internet. And the numbers for this article was back from 2016. And in 2016, there were 77% of Americans that had cell phones, and then 73% of Americans had broadband internet. I looked up the current numbers for this, and 96% of Americans have cell phones. 81% of Americans have a smartphone, so they're actually able to use the internet on their phones. And then we're still stuck at 73% of Americans that have broadband internet. So those numbers really shocked me because I just envision everybody having a smartphone, I guess. So to see that only 81% of Americans have smartphones was shocking to me. So I was really interested in those numbers. Another article that we needed to read is open educational resources. So like the other article talked about free open education resources. They're openly licensed resources, and they provide full curriculum for teachers. And Open Up Resources is an example of open educational resources, and their goal is to basically get schools to download and use their content instead of using publishing companies, the commercial publishing companies. So they're trying to basically steal commercial publishing companies' customers. So skeptics of the free open educational resources is really about the quality. Because it's free, is a quality less than that of commercial publishing companies. And then the District of Columbia is kind of jumping in with 2 feet on this, and they are trying to go to only open educational resources in their schools. But they've been working for 6 years just to kind of get all the resources that they think that they're going to need before they go to a completely open educational resource. The video that we watched, ICT Adoption Barriers, it contrasted primary and secondary schools and how they differ in technology advancements. So in order to have a successful technology plan and vision, you really have to have a trusting culture. So having primary parents really involved in their child and students' education is really important. And you tend to see more parents involved in primary settings than in secondary settings. And those parents in the primary settings really buy into their students' education. So you really have to have a trusting culture. You have to have buy-in from parents and community and leaders. And because it's a primary setting, there are smaller groups, so it's easier to control. One-to-one in a primary setting seems to be more successful because there is more time just with one teacher. They only move in and out of the classroom a few times a day. And so that's where the improvements are showing in test scores. In a secondary setting, one-to-one, there's less time. There's a lot of different teachers that they're seeing throughout the day. Some teachers don't know as much as others, so that can be confusing. And then they have such a sporadic schedule. Sometimes you see a class 2 times a week. Sometimes you see them 1 time a week. Sometimes you see them more than that. So because you don't have a strict, I see this class every day schedule, that can be difficult to get one-to-one to be successful. The questions that we were required to answer, so do I feel the digital divide can be resolved? Why or why not? I don't think there will ever be a time when There is not the have and have-nots. There's always going to be people who can afford the latest and greatest technology, and there is always going to be people who cannot. Same with schools. There's always going to be schools who can afford that, and there's always going to be schools that can. So I think that we can close the digital divide, but I don't think that it will ever not be there. What skill sets do I think 21st century students must acquire prior to graduation? Communication skills are extremely important, especially when everybody has a cell phone and nobody wants to talk to each other. Financial skills. Students need to know how to budget for college, how to budget after high school when they're on their own. Technology skills, critical thinking skills, and then since I'm a PE teacher, I think that health knowledge is extremely important. Our obesity rate is increasing every single day, and I think one of the most important things in school that students need to learn to move on to adulthood is how to stay healthy, is how to stay mentally and physically healthy. Not just the physical side. There's a lot of depression and anxiety nowadays in schools. We talk about that in PE all the time. So the skills that I teach students in PE, I believe, are extremely important for them to move on to be adults. What impact has the global economy had on my personal use of the internet? So I do a lot of things online. I pay bills, I bank online. Sometimes if I don't want to talk to people on the phone for customer service, I chat online. I make appointments, doctor's appointments online. I obviously do my master's program completely online, videos and entertainment, and then social media. So I use technology a lot. What technology training do you still need to effectively integrate technology in your current position? So my current needs, I need updated professional development, and I need to continue to seek that out because it's not always given to me in my district. Online collaboration across the globe. I would like to be able to reach out to people across the world and collaborate and see how they do things. And then my future needs as an administrator, I need to continue to seek out new technology opportunities and then decide what's best for my students and staff, and then decide how to integrate that technology within my school and get my staff to buy in on this idea. Is my school or district equipped with 21st century technology? Yes and no. We have laptops available. We obviously have printers. We have high-speed Wi-Fi, smart boards, and then a bunch of technology with our business and robotics classes. But we are not a one-to-one district. That would be extremely difficult and expensive for my district to take on. We have 8 comprehensive high schools, 15 middle schools, 55 elementary schools. There are over 50,000 kids in my district. We are the biggest district in Kansas. So in order to do one-to-one in our district, we would have to come up with a lot of money, and I just don't see that happening. So I don't think that we are there yet, maybe someday, but right now we are just fine the way we are. What are the advantages of innovative practices in school? There's more hands-on learning, more collaboration across the state and country, accommodations for impaired students. It teaches students technology skills. And then disadvantages, it's a big risk, especially with all the money that goes into it. It's very time-consuming. Internet safety as far as cyberbullying and protecting our students from inappropriate content. And then there's a lot of distractions on the internet that our students are able to find easily. Have you experienced problems with cyberbullying or other inappropriate use with students? I have not as a teacher. As a student in high school, I saw a lot of it because social media was just coming out when I was in high school. And then we weren't allowed to have internet on our cell phones, but we found out how to do it. So I have seen inappropriate internet use, but just not as a teacher. So thank you for watching.